welcome to Beginner's Week on Everyday Whiskey. In this week's episode, we're going to be going through some 3 basic bottles for you guys to try if you're looking to get into whiskey.
Alright guys, let's get after it this week. Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of Everyday Whiskey. I'm Dan.
And I'm Mike.
And this episode, as we stated before, is Whiskey for Beginners. I've been waiting to do this episode. I know you've been waiting to do this episode.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one.
As I want to just disclaim, we are not sponsored by any of the brands we're featuring today. We have just featured these because we think each one of these whiskeys represents certain traits out of each category that would be beneficial to new whiskey drinkers and help people get into the category of drinking whiskey. So, with further ado, Mike's going to take away which bottles that we chose from each category: bourbon, Scotch, and Irish whiskey.
Okay, so here we go. Like Dan mentioned, we chose 3 different bottles, and the subdivisions are broken up into bourbon, Scotch, and Irish whiskey, because those are your three core whiskeys when it comes to drinking whiskey.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
Japanese.
There's hundreds of subcategories, but these are the 3 when you think of whiskey, these are the 3 main groups that you have in every liquor store.
Yeah, pretty much Irish, American, Scottish. That's pretty much where we're going with this.
3 separate countries.
We'll do another one with Japanese eventually, but Japanese I feel is still on the up and coming.
Well, that and Japanese is super Scotch inspired, so
yeah, they're kind of similar in terms.
But so what do we got here this week, Mike?
So we got 4 Roses small batch.
All right, hold this one up here for you guys. So you can look at the label.
Very nice.
Bada
I
bing.
love all their new rebranding.
I know the packages are
all of it.
If anybody from 4 Roses see this, all of your new packaging is so much better.
Then we have the Naked Grouse. And this is a
very
unique
naked.
packaging.
Very naked.
Go into more in depth on that when we get to the bottle. And then finally for the Irish whiskey, no, it's not Jameson, it is Happy. We have Happy Irish whiskey. It's just too white of a label.
It's too white.
Yeah, it's gonna wash out. So yeah, those are the 3 that we chose. We think they each accurately represent their subdivision very well, and it's a great place to start if you're, hey, I want to get into bourbon. What's a good bottle? Pick this guy up and give it a shot. See what you think.
Did you bring a water bottle with us so we could wash out these glasses?
I did.
Did you?
Nope, I brought my water bottle.
All right, we'll figure something out.
Okay.
All right, let's go. So
I guess we're starting with the 4 Roses.
Yeah, we're gonna do. I think we'll just it doesn't matter.
Yeah, start. So the 4 Roses. If you remember a couple episodes back, I went into a little bit of history about their name and some of the overall history in a previous episode, so I'm not going to go too much in depth about that stuff again.
A little too fucking generous there.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. But anyway, if you recall from that episode, I mentioned that 4 Roses uses they have an overall 10 different recipes that they use to make their just the 4 Roses bourbon, the 4 Roses small batch, the small batch select, and then the single barrel.
And to put that in perspective, Buffalo Trace has 3.
Yeah.
And they have quadruple the brands underneath their name.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace is huge.
So I think a master distiller / blender at 4 Roses, their job is way more intricate than
they gotta go to 10 different recipes. Yeah. So this one is gonna be your not standard, I guess. It's 90 proof, 45%. So standard, I would say.
For a small batch, that's pretty high. Most small batches are gonna be between 40 and 43%. So 80 and 86.
So this is gonna be on the higher end, but trust me, it's not going to give you, it's not going to burn.
So, yeah.
It is not hot. Oh my god, the nose. So good. So, it's a 6 to 7 year aged barrel, which that's pretty adequate. 5 years is kind of your minimum. Well, 3 is technically.
Well, no, 2 is bourbon, 4 is when you can actually put an age statement on your bottle, and most small batches are between 6 and 9.
6 and 9. So, yeah. So, we got 6 to 7 years aged on this, and it comes from recipe. I gotta look at the notes on this one because, like I said, there's 10 different recipes. That
your dyslexia is gonna take over on these freaking numbers.
So recipes 2, 3, 7, and 8 they go into what they call their small batch. So they'll use one of those recipes for their small batch, whereas their original one they choose from all 10, and then the single barrel they only choose from
and it's recipe 1.
Yeah, and it is recipe 1, so which makes sense. It's got 2019 gold medal, as most of what we feature on here has been awarded gold medals.
Yeah, and it seems like 4 Roses, for the most part, all of their branding has either gotten gold or double gold at the cigar and spirits competition and stuff like that. So they definitely back up their whiskey with some medals behind it. But like I said, I think we mainly chose this bourbon just because it represents the small batch category in such a classic way. This is
it's delicious.
Four Roses they've been distilling whiskey since 1860, so I'd like to think they know what they're doing. But it's just a classic Kentucky bourbon. It really is. You get chocolate and caramel. Like
trying to find that damn water bottle because I swear I brought it
I
back
think you
here.
did, but so hold on, let me go get it.
I guess I did.
I don't know where the fuck it is.
No water bottle.
Fuck's the water bottle? Oh, I couldn't find it. All right, there's no water down there.
All right.
But yeah, so that's why we selected this one, just because it is got some really soft chocolate notes, like the Toblerone we were talking about last, Toblerone candy or Rolo, basically a chocolate caramel candy.
Yeah, I mean the chocolate is prominent on this. This is the first time I've ever actually read that there's notes of chocolate and then
online
tasted notes of chocolate. I mean, it's good.
No, I'm definitely a fan of this, and I definitely, if I was gonna backtrack to when I first started drinking whiskey, I wish I had given this a chance.
Yeah, me too.
Because I know for a fact the first bourbon I had was a 10-year single barrel, was Eagle Rare, and then we bought it when we were like 20-something years old. We were legal drinking age.
Knob crate.
Knob crate.
Knob crate.
Is that like knockoff?
Knob crate.
That's like Fruit Hoops. The Fruit Hoops of whiskey.
Ah, me some Knob Creek. Knob Creek.
Is that from Booker Nope?
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know how I ended up with that bottle. I was 21. It was one of the first things I purchased.
I'm gonna get like a little dump cup going, I think, though, just so we can like not get like sloshed here.
I just wanted. I don't know. I just wanted a bourbon. For some reason, Knob Creek. That's what I bought.
So we're just gonna go through some glasses here. You go with that? You want to polish it off, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep going.
Keep going on that one?
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've addressed exactly why we've chosen this one. So we obviously, if you have another bottle in mind that you want to buy to start with, by all means go for it. But
sorry,
nice shot.
It's in the way.
But for the price point and the availability, this is such an easy buy. Every liquor store should have this in their bourbon section. If not,
yeah, you shouldn't have a problem.
God
locating
help
that
their
bottle.
souls. All right. Of course, we're using Glencairn glasses because you can hear the.
Oh my God, that was hard.
I know, right?
I expected that to shatter.
Well, they don't shatter very easy.
Yeah, okay.
It's an ASMR.
Damn.
All right. Next up, we have got the Naked Grouse.
This is a really crazy bottle.
This is a really crazy bottle of scotch, but is a very beginner-friendly bottle of scotch. And I poured really heavy again.
Again, dude, you're like...
I give you
going
one.
at it.
I dumped half mine. I feel like I'm like slammed. I feel like I slammed it back. It's like, by the end of this one, he's like, "Alright guys, we're just gonna, go in the crowd whiskey." But alright, so Naked Grouse. It's a very cool bottle of whiskey just because of what goes into this bottle. So basically, most blended scotches are a blend of single malts. So at the core of every blended scotch, there is some form of a single malt. And this has some serious pedigree behind it. So this is made by the Famous Grouse Group, but in a new marketing campaign, they separated the Naked Grouse brand from the Famous Grouse brand. So this stands alone. Aligned. Yeah, they're not aligned. This is supposed to be a bartender-friendly scotch, or a bartender-friendly single malt to make cocktails with. But by itself, it is a amazing whiskey. Oh, yeah. So basically, this is a 43% alcohol scotch, 86 proof. You can do math, just double the percentage. But the blend in here is awesome. It's from Glentorret, Glenrothes, and the famous Macallan. So all single malts from there. And the best part about this entire bottle, and it's only $35 to $40, it's finished 6 months in Oloroso sherry cask, which is one of the best sherry casks you could possibly finish bourbon in. Yeah, and it's you could possibly finish scotch in. Obviously, it's aged in ex-bourbon barrels. They don't say which bourbon barrels it is, but it has to be aged in bourbon barrels to be called a scotch. And it's finished for 6 months in the Oloroso sherry. So let's get into this one here. I've had this bottle extensively. As you can see, there's not much left. I'm going to be very upset when it goes. But once again, when it goes, I can buy another one because it's always around. And it's always very cost efficient. Yeah. You just smell the sherry. Like, you smell sweet cherry and sherry. It just smells like cherries and sherry.
You know,
that's mine.
Cherries
and
sherry?
Cherries and sherry.
I got smoke and oak.
You got smoke and oak. I got cherries and sherry.
And we all know that I do love smoke and oak, and those are characteristics that pertain more to an Islay and a single malt.
It is such a good scotch.
You actually do get some of that oakiness and a little bit of that smokiness.
It tastes like dark cherries, sherry, and then like just a little bit of. There's really no peat to this at all. There's no smoke. maybe a hint of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you really want
it's
to dig
very
it out,
tiny.
like,
I mean, I could pick it up.
Yeah, if you want to dig it out of it, you could probably get it out of it because it is Scotch. Every Scotch is inherent to some sort of like slight smoke to it, just because of the terra of where it comes from.
It's
but
good.
like I said, the reason we selected this is number one, the cost. It should be between $30 and $40 on a shelf, depending on where you are. We're saying price points from New Jersey. It may be different where you are. We're very expensive across the board as far as liquor goes. So odds are it might be a little cheaper where you're at. But it's just a very approachable whiskey. It's got enough bourbon characteristics in it from the bourbon casks I use that it's very approachable for someone who wants to get into Scotch. And it's not one of those like peat beasts from like Islay where it'll definitely scare off some people from Scotch. Just because the flavor profile is so overbearing on those that you definitely need to build up to getting to drink those. So this is a nice bridge, and it's just very soft and very easy. It's not very volatile, not very potent, and it's just got very soft sherry flavors to it.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. You pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's probably
all I know is that, when it comes to Scotch, I have a very expensive taste for Scotch.
Yeah, you do.
That's why I don't drink it a lot. I have my bottle of Lagavulin at home, and that's pretty much my only bottle that I ever have. It's almost out, sadly, so I'll have to pick up another one. But for someone who doesn't like Scotch very much, I could easily pick this up. If, times were hard and maybe I didn't want to spend that money on the Lagavulin,
it's a good daily,
I would go for this because it's
a good double D.
Yeah.
It's a daily drinker.
It is a good daily drinker. And again, I could pick up those oaky notes and a little bit of that smoke. Not a lot, just a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't really say smoke. The peat. The peat is what it really is. We're talking about the single malts and the Isleys and blendeds and whatnot. And there's just enough of those notes on both of them where I really do enjoy this bottle. And if I had to do this all over again, I probably would start with picking up one of those rather than jumping right into the $100 range for something good.
If you guys follow our Instagram page, you did see we actually did like a full-blown Scotch tasting to try and figure out which one we wanted to do for the Scotch.
Yeah.
The bourbon Irish whiskey, I think we knew what we wanted to do.
Yeah, we knew.
The Scotch is very hard because there is another big brand called Monkey Shoulder that is basically the world-renowned choice favorite for starter Scotch.
Yeah.
And this, I think, outdoes it in 100%. A lot of ways.
100%.
I'm not knocking Monkey Shoulder. I just think the flavor profile is a little more intricate on this, but it's still approachable for a new whiskey drinker.
Definitely.
But yeah, like I said, I'm glad you liked it just because you like really smoky, smoky scotches.
That crazy
stuff. It does show that this can bridge to the other side of the expensive palate. All right, so next we're going to Ireland, which that is a very bad Irish accent. That's more Scottish. I feel like.
Now this one...
Try and just not pour a lot. Come on, you can do it. Hold back. There we go.
Cool.
Hold back. All right, as we said before, this is Ha'penny Irish Whiskey, named after the Ha'penny Bridge, which is the international symbol of Dublin. I don't know if it gets any more Irish than that.
It's got an interesting nose.
So, basically, every Irish whiskey, this is supposed to be like... I think Irish whiskey is a very sessionable version of whiskey.
Irish whiskey is very light.
You will get some like...
This is probably on the darker end.
It's on the... Yeah, for sure. It's more of the amber. It's more of an amber, right? See if you can like...
Well, we
need like a piece of paper
we
here.
do. We need to white balance something. But like, this is pretty light. Or pretty dark for an Irish. Most Irish whiskeys are very, very light in color. And respectively, they're actually very, very light in taste and nose, too. They're really not... This is probably where you would want to start overall if you're trying to get into whiskey in general.
For sure, just because they're usually very
Start Irish before you go American and obviously Scotch, because Irish is just so much more approachable. It's light, sessionable, like you said.
Yeah, and it's like I said, and it's usually a little more on the citrusy or tropical side of things. So like you definitely are gonna be able to pinpoint some more flavors in it, and it's definitely on some cheaper stuff, you're going to get a very sharp, hot bite.
Yeah.
But this is actually a very well-developed whiskey for being a $30 bottle. In New Jersey, it's $30 bucks. But yeah, it's a very cool bottle because it's actually finished in 4 separate casks. So it's finished in a port pipe cask, an ex-bourbon cask, a freaking sherry cask, and a double charred cask.
Wow.
So it goes.
And you
That's the
taste
color. So the color I think, and I might be wrong. The color I mainly think is probably going to come from the sherry and the double charred.
Yeah.
That might be why it's a little bit darker, but it definitely drinks very light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have a different opinion to me, but
I mean, it's a little more complex than I expected.
But I think it's easier drinking than most of your Irish whiskeys. It's definitely very light. But I think it has a better flavor to me.
It does have better flavor. I think this is a good one for beginners to get into, but this definitely has some characteristics that a more experienced drinker would be able to pick up on.
I think it's good for both groups here. So I think whether you just picked up a bottle for your first time or you've been drinking Jameson your whole life, I think either way, both parties are very happy with this choice. But it is a 38% malt and 62% grain blend, so you're actually going to get a little more graininess out of it. It's going to be a little bit lighter, and I think you said it's going to bring out more of those citrus and orange flavors to it.
I get hold on.
You get apricot, right? It smells like apricot to me.
No.
I get apricot.
I get a little bit of a gin essence.
Here, all right. I'm so happy you said this.
There's is there gin in this?
No. There's no gin in it. But Happy is a spirits house, and they have a spirits. They call it the range.
Yeah.
So they make a gin.
Okay.
And they make a rhubarb gin, which is huge over in the UK.
Yeah.
So and their gins are amazing. I've had their gins too. Rhubarb
I know
gin.
Where we can buy a rhubarb gin. I just saw it the other day.
The O'Neill shit, right?
I don't know who the hell sells it, but I just saw it on. Actually, it was the Happy. It was the rhubarb gin.
Oh, all right. Yeah, it's in New Jersey. But I just think Happy is such a cool little brand. It's made by whiskey and craft spirit enthusiasts. It's made in the Pierce Lyons Distillery. So obviously it's not called Happy Distillery. That's the brand. The Pierce Lyons Distillery is what makes the brand. It's just a very well balanced, well crafted spirit. It's definitely in.
So, but where were you going with the gin thing?
Because they make gin.
Oh, okay. So it's just
they make gin.
The same.
It doesn't actually
same facility.
You might, like I said, you might get a little bit of the citrus and tropicalness from the juniper, from a botanical bag.
That's what I get. A little bit.
Because their gin is very, it's not very juniper forward. It's more of a new world gin. So you're gonna get a little more tropical and fruity.
Yeah, because that's what I was getting on the back. I was like, hold up for a second. I was just like, we gotta
hold
pause.
up. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something ain't right here.
This is just not. This is whoa. The bar looks really trippy through the bottom of the glass.
Yeah, kaleidoscope.
It is. That's good. Okay, back to what we were doing.
All right. But, so that is why we chose the Happy Irish Whiskey for this episode, because I didn't want to do a major chain brand that everybody knows. I wanted to feature something a little more crafty that maybe you didn't know about, but is just as good or even better than these big chain houses.
I'm not going to name names, even though I'm pretty sure you might have accidentally named a name earlier. But, everyone knows that famous green bottle. Sure, it's good to start with.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I recommend if you're trying to get an Irish whiskey, try to break away from, the big guys,
the major labels,
and try and find something like the Happy or the Kinahans or what else.
I think there's legitimate
Tullamore Dew's actually really good.
Yeah, Tullamore Dew's great, and they have a bunch of different cast finishes that are awesome. But there's so much I think there's honestly it sounds really corny, but there's just a lot of love.
Powers is Irish too, right?
Powers is Irish.
Yeah, Powers.
And that's a big brand. That's a big brand, but it's a little. I think it's a notch above Jameson and stuff.
I would think so. Yeah.
Both owned by the same supplier though.
That's true. But yeah, definitely pick up one of these, something you're unfamiliar with. And you know what? It really helps too, like I was saying earlier, look for something light in color. Don't go for something that has a real dark color to it. Look for, because there's plenty of these bottles.
Sometimes the darker the color, the more it's in a barrel, the more potent and volatile the flavors might be. So I'm not telling you to go get a Redbreast 21 year because you've heard it's very good, because I guarantee if you've never had Irish whiskey before and you have a Redbreast 21 year or a Green Spot, you might find those a little hot, a little more volatile.
Yeah.
You need to work your way up to that. Or you could just have the palate for Irish whiskey and you like it off the back. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I would suggest that you start with one of these 3 bottles, or go on your forums or go online and get other people's opinions. But as far as our opinion goes, I think these are great representations of what each category should taste like.
This is basically to get you out of that stigma. So, all right, I'm going to name names because it's hard to do this without naming names.
Just name the names.
Basically,
we're not knocking the brands.
Yeah, we're not knocking them. There's nothing against these guys.
There's a place for everybody.
But, when you think of, when someone says whiskey, Jack Daniels. When someone says bourbon, Jim Beam. When someone says Irish whiskey, Jameson. When someone says Scotch, Johnny Walker. Like, try to we're doing this to break away from those names. We don't want, those are decent for what they are, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But they're not true representations of the true styles. You know, a lot of people that I've come in contact with, oh, I hate bourbon, oh, I hate whiskey. Well, what have you drank? Oh, I've had JD.
Yeah, there's
well, now I know why you hate it.
I think that, like, as far as like craft spirits go, there is a handcrafted nature.
Yeah.
That you can taste in a bottle when it is loved and it is like handpicked. Like, it's just there's something you can taste about like a non-mass. These are all mass production. Don't get me wrong, but there's just like these are a little more on the craft side of the spectrum.
You know, and I'll be the first to admit, you know, I kind of lumped Four Roses into that same category with JD and Jim Beam.
No, they definitely go above and beyond in their production.
Yeah, they are light years ahead. Just everything about them, light years ahead. I mean, they are so good. I really wish I never stereotyped them in that.
Well, I said when I started drinking whiskey, I wish I had started. I wish I had started with this bottle,
like this.
With this particular bottle, I wish I started with. But guys, as we say in every episode, I really thank you guys for watching the episode. Mike and I encourage you to comment on it if you have any questions, or if you have a contradicting opinion about what we chose, please say so. We want you to like the video. Please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed.
Yep.
Please follow our social media sites.
Okay, one thing I want to mention about our social media site. When you go on Instagram, there's going to be, I've noticed several things happening. So there's an Everyday Whiskey page on Instagram, which I know we've mentioned before.
We call that is literally 4 episodes.
Yes, it's at Everyday Whiskey. It's our exact name. And back when we started this channel, we couldn't use that name because obviously this page already used it.
He owned that domain.
He had 0 posts, 0 followers. He just had the domain name. Well, since then, I was doing some research last night. He's actually increased in followers ever since we started doing this.
So you guys are following him and not us.
Yeah, and that's an honest mistake. I'm not blaming you guys. I'm saying, you know, what I'm getting at is just make sure you look for everyday_whiskey1.
I'm going to put it in a little note on the bottom right screen, like
Unfortunately, that's what we have to do.
And then Facebook's much easier. That's just Everyday Whiskey. First thing will pop up, you'll find it.
However, one thing I am going to ask you guys, go to that Everyday Whiskey account, and I don't know if this works. I don't know how social media works, but report it. I've been doing it on all my accounts because I want. It's got nothing. It's a dead account. There's no there's nothing, and I would like to use our name instead of that.
Yeah, we just want to have a consistent platform across the board.
You know, if reporting does the trick, do that. Or if someone knows how to get someone to give up their name or whatever the hell they're doing, please comment and let me know what to do so I could go about the correct means of getting our name back on our Instagram page, so it's easy for you.
For the time being, it's everyday_whiskey1. That's our Instagram page. Please follow that so you can get updates on what our episodes are going to be, what we're drinking daily, stuff like that. But like
that is our most active account.
That is our most active account for sure. We usually post on here our YouTube page is like once or twice a week. And look out for our new segment we're going to be launching this week called Couch Potatoes. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun.
I'm not going to tell you what it's about. We're going to explain it in the first episode. You have to watch the first episode to know what we're talking about.
Yes.
But as I say at the end of every episode, guys, thank you for watching this. I hope you learned something. If you didn't learn something, I hope you laughed at something stupid that came out of my mouth or his mouth.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tons of that.
And everybody, with everything going on in the world, stay safe, have a great day, and watch out for tornadoes.
Yeah.